What's up guys and gals, and welcome back to another Division 2 video. If you happen to be new to the channel, ground and pound that like and subscribe button, and don't forget to turn on post notifications so that way you know each and every time I go live or a new video is uploaded. Just reach up there and click that bell. And while you're triggering that bell, check out our exclusive membership of the Gorilla Nation by clicking on the join button and following the steps. You'll get exclusive content with a plethora of different perks, along with loyalty badges, emojis, and the list goes on and on. So don't forget to check that out. But without further ado, let's hop right into it. And I've been saying this ever since the beta, and a lot of people would try to rebuttal this, that pretty much the P416 is the downright, hands down, best all-around AR in the game when it comes to sustained damage and also magazine capacity, stability, accuracy. It's just, all around the complete package with what you want in an AR. But if you happen to have checked out the previous build video, this is kind of going in tandem with that. But instead of a vector, I figure, why not throw on the chatterbox since I have it? I know there's a lot of videos out there with people utilizing it. I'm not more or less using it per se as far as the talents that are actually on it, as far as the chatter and the box magazine, but more or less I'm going with the bladdermouth. While holstered, reloading your weapon within 5 seconds after a kill grants 20% rate of fire for 10 seconds. When that is actually procced, it makes the P416 even more potent than it already previous was. And my current one has close and personal, killing a target within 7 meters grants 50% weapon damage for 5 seconds. Requires 5 offensive, and I have 12. Also, it has Allegro and then a wasted talent of Zen. While equipped, resting in cover for 3 seconds removes blind and disorient status effects. But going along with the rate of fire on it by Allegro, it makes it really nice as far as the RPM. It's not slow along the lines of an ACR, things of that nature. And then, of course, there's only one other AR that comes close when it comes to the base damage, and that would be the AK. But, the AK has other flaws, in which it actually puts it down into the lower to the bottom spectrum of the ARs, just because of the low RPM, and when it comes to modifications of the weapon, it's just not really all that great. But, I mean, it is actually great if that's all you got. But according to the last video, I was utilizing patience in the knee pad slot. We've done away with that, but basically the rest of it is consistent along as far as using the clutch attribute or talent. Clutch is crit hits restore 15% health and repair and 2% armor. Requires while using an AR, SMG, or LMG. And then, of course, going hand in hand with the Berserk. Berserk talent is 10% weapon damage for every 10% of max armor depleted. And most people are running this with such as primarily using the chatterbox or really using the vector with strained. I am more or less going on a different path and kind of going back to the old Division 1 days with more or less stacking crit on everything and also having all these other talents and perks working in complete synergy. So let's go over them. First, in our mask is one of the 3-piece brand sets that I have. It gives you 7% crit hit damage, 15% drone skill power, and 10% crit chance. In the attributes, we have 3% cooldown reduction, and then, of course, 8,620 health. And then, also, while using this on such as PvE activities, then we have hard hitting with 15% damage to elites. Now, there are room for improvements, but when it comes to the Wyvern wear, I didn't really and haven't found a suitable replacement. About the only offensive talents that I have found are really, really low as far as either in crit chance or crit damage, and the only ones that I actually have found that has a offensive attribute on it is, of course, this 23% damage to elites. And if I want to go strictly nothing but PvE, then this is the mask that I'll actually switch to, because this one piece alone, and that gives you 38% damage to elites. So if I'm just PvEing, then of course I would go with this mask. But you can, use it for both PvE and PvP, so that way you don't have to switch it out. But I was really wanting the 8,620 of health. And then, of course, no mod slots. Wish I did actually have some. But let's move on. With the second piece of the brand set of Wyvern, where we have the 15% drone skill power, which is I don't necessarily use, but mainly I wanted to use this because it has 13% crit hit chance. And for having all three, that's basically 23% crit hit chance right there. And then, of course, Gunslinger, which is, it can be useful as far as if you have a dope sidearm, and especially for PC players, because using keyboard and mouse, it's easier, to completely shred somebody with even a pistol. So this is where the Gunslinger talent would actually come in handy. And of course, in the mod slot, we have 1.5% weapon damage, 2.5% headshot damage, and 3% optimal range. Now, the final and third piece of the Wyvern set, the attributes on this is 6% crit chance, and of course, cloaked. When your armor is depleted, nearby enemy skills are disrupted for 10 seconds, can occur once every 30 seconds. Now, for instance, where this talent here would come in handy is those assault drones, especially in the dark zone, but there are PvE situations where the drones are coming at you. And if your armor is depleted and they're in the proximity of nearby, as far as they're nearby to you, then they are disrupted once your armor is depleted, so it can come in handy, but it is situational. But more and more I see a lot of people, even especially in the dark zone or in conflict, using the assault drones. But that's the only three-piece actual set that I have, so let's move on to the rest of them. The chest piece, no surprise here, it is the Ferris AB group. Just wanted this particular one piece just to get the 10% assault rifle damage. And the attributes on this is 4.5% weapon damage. When trying to switch it out, I believe the cap is at 6. So for 1.5%, I wasn't going to waste the funds on that. And plus, we got word today as far as Tidal Basin, April 5th. That's next week. Can't wait. So this build definitely will come in handy. And of course, the Berserk talent, the Berserk, plus 10% weapon damage for every 10% max armor depleted. Requires a shotgun, SMG, or assault rifle. And then in the mod slot, or the other talent, is hardened plus 10% armor. Now, if I can get vital also on this one, it would be really, really dope. But then that would actually sink me lower into the armor pool. And right now, I'd like my armor actually to be up at least, I'd say 10 to 15k more. That'd be where I'm most comfortable. So as I find better pieces, then those will be subjected into the build, so that way I can continue to boost these stats. But I have a solid foundation to build upon, and that is the most important key. Have a good foundation, build around Pacifics, and then add upon it and make that idea, that concept, even stronger than what you had imagined it before. And then the mod slot, we have 5% SMG damage, and then of course 10% ensnare resistance. Believe it or not, I've had some people in conflict try to use the cum gun or the Kim launcher on me. It don't work out too well for them. But moving right along, let's go to the backpack. Just using that one piece, get the 5% total armor, but most importantly, it is the 5.5% crit hit chance, the weapon damage, the additional 69.21 in health, and of course, vital. Health increased by 20%. In its mod slots, we have 2909 in armor, 1.43% crit hit chance resistance, and then 11% poison resistance. Of course, as far as the second and third one, I would prefer anything other than those possibly, but the 2909 in armor is really nice. And then, of course, in the next slot, we have an offensive system mod, which is 2% weapon damage, 2% marksman rifle damage, and 2% SMG damage. So if I want to use the chatterbox, then I get an additional 4% for that. But if I'm sticking primarily to my AR like I am, then the extra 2% is not too great, but it's a positive. And then, of course, the gloves, like I went over before, it has the talent clutch on it, and the attributes are 55, 51 health, and then 5% assault rifle damage. Now, these same exact pieces that I have here, all I have to do is switch out this one piece. If I wanted to use primarily, such as an SMG, then I actually will have a piece switch over to the Sokolov, and I'll show you that in a minute. But let's first go over the stats and the character sheet for these particular weapons. Starting with the P416, 14,483 weapon damage, 55% crit hit chance, and 48% crit hit damage. Now we'll need to get that crit hit damage up, and as better pieces and things come along, I plan on at least elevating that, hopefully around at least, I'd say 10 to 20 more crit hit damage. That would be a lot nicer. So, you know, as things come along, we'll see if I can actually get the pieces. Then 13.5% all weapon damage, and then 15% by assault rifle, and then 22% SMG damage. That works out well with the 13.5% all weapon damage. And then only 15% damage to elites on this one, but like I said, just switch out the mask, and then you have an additional 38% on top of that. So let's move on over, and let me just switch out to this one particular piece, and I will show you exactly what I was talking about. See, the only thing that changed here is the armor value. All these other pieces are the exact same with the exact same mods. But the only exception is this chest piece, and the chest piece has 4% crit hit damage, 6% weapon damage, and then 6% crit hit chance, and then of course 67-63 armor. And the talent, of course, is Berserked. Now, showing the character sheet on this one, if I'm primarily going with an SMG, it'll be as followed. So see, we're still at 55% crit hit chance, 36% crit hit damage. Like I said, I'm trying to get that crit hit damage up. And see, we have 17% all weapons damage bonus, and then 27% SMG damage, for a total of 44% SMG damage. Now, if you don't want to use the chatterbox, then there are other things such as the MP7. I have this one with Ranger. Every 5 meters you are from your target, grants 2% weapon damage, but you're like, oh, it's SMG. Well, that's they got attachments where you can extend your range. I mean, you got your crit is within 30 yards. So if you extend that by at least 20%, you can still hit a lot harder and do a lot of nice damage, because it does have 950 RPM, 48 in a magazine. So in that category, it's almost up there with the Vector, and you have 19 exactly more rounds, and it just falls short, maybe like 500 to 600 in damage. But like I said, that you can make up for that by utilizing the Ranger talent. If you want something else, you can go with the MP5, and this one actually has Strained on it, but I have 12 offensive stats, and you have to have 5 or less. That is why usually I don't like rocking the Strained. And then, of course, the infamous Vector. This is the one I actually used on my other AR build. That was really nice. The Monster is what I call it. It has Preservation. Killing an enemy repairs 5% armor over 3% headshot. And that actually works in tandem and well with as far as clutch and, of course, patience on my knee pads. You can check out that other AR Monster video on the channel. You really like it. I can't even talk. You really like it. Sorry, it's late. I'm in the hospital. You know, the meds are wearing off, you know. But anyways, enough rambling on. But there are different options as far as when it comes to SMGs. You don't necessarily have to, but it actually works out really well, because I still have great base damage with the AR, the P416. But, you know, if I want to stick with primarily the chatterbox, then by all means, with all that extra damage and all that crit, you're still going to be hitting really hard. But there is additional gameplay. Like I said, it's the exact same as far as the concept. It's just remove patience off of it, and then the pieces where you had to use in order to unlock patience, which is I'll show you here on these knee pads. All right, here you have to have 7 defensive. And see, it's short on this one, so by taking that off and then switching pieces around and utilizing the 3-piece Wyvern wear and hitting all that crit chance, yes, it'd be nice if you like, you know, taking pop shots and sitting in cover more, utilizing the patience. So if I was going on the AR side, then, you know, but I'm more or less a running gun and playing in conflict, you know, not really standing in one spot too long. So being more of a glass cannon with a high health pool really comes in handy, and by having so much crit, clutch definitely reflects on that high crit chance. So that way, with my larger health pool, I'm getting 15% of my health back versus only 2% of armor. So once all your armor is depleted, Basically, every crit that you're hitting out, you're getting 15% of your health back, but yet you're not really getting that much armor. But let's say you're shooting down your chem launcher at your feet, or you're utilizing a hive. That also working in tandem along with that is what makes it really, really nice, and definitely be able to mow people down. But I think I've took enough of your time. I've rambled on. I apologize for that. I'm trying to get back into the grind as far as with content, and I'm happy to be coming home Friday from this hospital stay. And I can actually wait because this struggle net here is really, really bad. That's why I can't really get that great of footage as far as utilizing it. But I have thrown in what I have. But thank you guys so much. We'll see you fudging later.